This is Fallout Wild Wasteland, a complete overhaul mod for Europa Universalis, and it really is a complete overhaul. Everything is changed from the map to technology to idea groups all the way down to unit models, which are super well done, might I add. This dope mod takes us into the world of Bethesda Softworks Fallout, at least the North American continent, with everything represented from the capital wasteland of Fallout 3, the Mojave wasteland of New Vegas, and even the Commonwealth from Fallout 4. As a casual Fallout enjoyer, I really had a lot of fun with this video, and I'm sure that you will too. If you do, make sure that you like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. There is plenty more that you're going to miss out on if you are not subscribed. I've played every Fallout since Fallout 3, except for Fallout 76, because I don't want to play any live service garbage, but I have enjoyed all of them. Maybe Fallout 4 not as much, but you know, all this stuff going on over here in the Mojave, it's got a special place in my heart. And that actually seems to be mostly where the mod is developed. Obviously there's stuff filling in over here, but for the most part I think it's not a huge amount of stuff. Obviously they have the capital wasteland and all that, but I think the primary development is over here on the western portions. We have a lot of our old favorites like Caesar's Legion, the New California Republic, the NCR. We've also got plenty of various things like the Lost Hills chapter of the Dark Brotherhood, so there is a lot of really cool stuff to see. Of course, we have New Vegas with the Hoover Dam and Yes Man over here by the casino. So yeah, things are really cool. This is a really well-developed mod. I love to see stuff like this. Oh, the unit models are even like Wastelanders, and oh, this is so cool. Bro, this is so cool. I love this. How am I just now finding this mod? This is so cool. Cultural map mode is pretty cool. You've got Bleached Bone, Dust Fury. So we've got like Raiders, Tribal, Death Claws even have a very large portion over here. You've even got like your Brotherhood of Steel culture, which makes sense. Your Legion, your Sons of Jupiter, and the Sons of Mars over here. So this is pretty dang cool. Super mutants have taken over the bay. We apparently have ghost people over here, so something to keep in mind. Obviously the terrain is very different. You can see there's a ton of you know, wastelands, which makes a lot of sense, but there's like very strategic passes to get through a lot of these places, which I think if anybody who's played the Hearts of Iron 4 version of this mod, you're going to understand how important those passes really are. Those sorts of choke points will really allow a nation to just completely control everything. It goes a lot farther than just the map, right? Like we've got total UI overhaul, advisor portraits that are based on characters from Fallout, which is just something else. Culture map mode was redone. We also have a religious map mode with the Cult of Mars, you know, Animus, Secular, Adam, praise be. This is really cool stuff. And of course we can't forget Taoism over here on the southern portion of the Bay Area, because this is, you know, a Chinese settlement, of course. Culturally, it's pretty bare bones across the board, mostly 222 for like the quote-unquote tribal people, with the settled places going 333. And it appears that there are reworks to the hegemons with an administrative, mercantile, religious, and cultural. Very cool. Number one great power is the NCR, with New Vegas in the number 2, with Kaiser's Legion in the 3rd spot, and then 2 Dark Brotherhood chapters, the Midwest and the Lost Hills in the 4th and 5th. New Reno also over in Nevada, followed by Los Angeles and the Fusion over here in the 8th spot, which is a robotics nation, which is pretty cool. Oh my gosh, they're even using a ton of this custom GUI that was added recently in the recent patches of EU4. Bro, it's already been like 4 minutes and I haven't even unpaused the game. So what do you guys say we do that? The mod is just so cool and so detailed that I have to take a second to admire it and really give the dev props for all the cool stuff that they've added in here. Regardless, we're gonna turn it on up to speed 5 and unpause this game. And since the map is so small and there's so few provinces compared to vanilla, it runs quick. And 2090 is going to go by very quickly. I think we're going to go at least a couple hundred years. Missions look very different from vanilla, but I think that's just a UI thing. And institutions go from bottle caps into Robco Industry, into Repcon, into Rads, into Power Armor, Vault Tech Industries, and GEC. And so all of those are going to have their individual stuff. And it looks like the mod is intended to go through 2450, so probably about 2500 if I had to guess. It's only been about 2 years and we've got quite a few wars going on over here. The Midwestern chapter seems to be fighting it out with the Fusion, I guess, or the Brahmin Wood if I had to guess, and then they're getting helped out. But the Texan chapter fighting with Austin, which is just about what you would expect. Austin fighting the rest of the state for, you know, power. People from California that live in Austin. And it looks like just a couple years in, Prim has been annexed by Caesar's Legion, encroaching on the state of whatever this is. Good Springs has been annexed as well. So it looks like we're going to be seeing some pretty big border disputes over here between New Vegas and the Legion, which, you know, if you know, you know. It is super cool to see the super mutants fighting it out with the Brotherhood of Steel. I am just such a big fan of seeing stuff like this. It is just so cool, man. Cavalry is a truck, artillery is like a howitzer, and then of course the unit models are just very good. Like, I cannot say enough how beautifully done these unit models are, knowing that like a large portion of the player base doesn't even look at them, but the immersion is so good, man. Taking a look at unit pips here, you can see that these guys have 2, 4, 6, 7 on their infantry, whereas the Brotherhood of Steel does indeed have 2, 4, 6, 8. So they do have an extra pip, which totally makes sense. And that would probably explain why they're gonna be able to just dominate, at least early on. Oh yeah, take a look at this. All shock, no fire, baby. The Deathclaw Scavengers, they're just gonna get absolutely shredded in the fire phase, but in the shock phase, they're going to lay the smackdown on anybody. That is so cool. Yeah, and it does appear that Caesar's Legion definitely likes expanding. They're finishing up getting Prim sorted out, and they're already pushing both to the east and the west in the south. So I have a feeling that they're going to be a big problem for the region. NCR sitting pretty, but they do have some claims, and New Vegas doing a bit of consolidation of a couple of the local tags. Nothing super big at the moment, but a lot of these provinces are very tiny compared to something like Caesar's Legion as well. Oh, ouch. It does seem like the the Midwest chapter not feeling too good. They got 2 provinces. They're at war with like Iron Rivers over here, and I assume that these are bunkers or something along those lines. It's just wasteland. Yeah, terrain has been overhauled. You can see combat width is actually affected by the terrain type, which is pretty cool. That's something that I think used to be in vanilla and then they removed it, but all of the terrain that is like from vanilla, like desert here, it's all been overhauled. So it's all actually very different. You can see pre-war settlement. This is kind of like their farmlands, I suppose. The modifiers are actually really cool. I'm a big fan of that. I think it adds definitely an interesting dynamic to the balance of how each province is like kind of individual use is. That's pretty sweet. Oh, well, I said there was going to be some border friction. Turns out that that was correct. New Vegas chose violence, and they won. It looks like Caesar's Legion has lost land both to New Vegas as well as a ton of land over here to the NCR. So we're definitely seeing some interesting stuff popping up out of here, out of the Southwest. For example, like these guys here, this Brotherhood of Steel, they conquered these super mutants and they just popped back out from rebels. I don't know how that happened, but it did happen, and it's a big setback for them. We do have more Deathclaws popping out over here. Deathclaw, Kansas, looking kind of scary. And then over here, we've got Crater. Just huge crater, I guess. Robots over in the Fusion, looking pretty cool. And any of my New Vegas friends are going to understand this one. The Think Tank, big mountain over here with the Sink, the capital, which is really cool. I love that. It's all cut off from everything else. There's wasteland surrounding it, and then collapsed tunnels that you have to colonize in order to get to them. So that's pretty sweet. Oh my goodness. I did not expect to see it, but Caesar's Legion is gone. They are just gone. They got full annexed between New Vegas, the NCR, and I think this Blackfoot or maybe these Sporlings. They're done. They're just reduced to atoms. They do not exist anymore. And they were a great power before, like number 3. So it's crazy how fast things happens in this time. We've also got the Lost Hills chapter getting pushed out. The super mutants got eaten up by the NCR, but then so did the Brotherhood of Steel over here. And then Scavenger Team 1, this is a super mutants colony as well, and they're actually doing really good. They ate up the Chinese that were down here on the south side, and then it looks like they ate up maybe some of the other super mutants in the region. But yeah, somebody to keep our eyes on, I think. Looks like the Enclave up in the north are doing okay, I would say. Being so isolated is definitely good for them. Zark over here doing pretty good, or at least has a big name. And Austin is actually a great power now because they ate up a ton of land over here. The Texan chapter, who they were fighting early on, still not fighting, but Austin is big now. Crater has lost some land down here, but has migrated up, conquering a ton of land over here in like the Carolinas, so definitely got to keep our eyes on them. And 40 years in, NCR is definitely running away with it, with New Vegas not too far behind them, and then the Deathclaw Cabal in the 3rd spot, Crater in the 4th, Austin in the 5th, Arroyo in the 6th, the Institute in the 7th, and then the Enclave in the 8th spot. So things are definitely looking quite different from what it looked just 40 years ago, which is really cool. And no surprise, the Institute is doing so good. CIT up here with provinces that are like 4 pixels large, clearly going to be dominating with their synths, right? The synths are probably pretty powerful if I had to guess. Oh my gosh, these units are crazy. 150k. I think that the NCR is about to lay the smackdown on New Vegas. If I had to guess, I'm actually like in awe at how well they're doing. Robert House over here is a very good leader though, so they've got lots of mana going for them. They've even got their own freaking government mechanic, bro. Oh, this mod is so cool. But yeah, House is immortal, as you would expect. And it looks like they've hired Peyton Thompson here, a Deathclaw surveyor. So something to keep in mind, I suppose. But yeah, we've got government mechanics for both these guys. So there's so much more content than I was actually thinking when I first loaded into this mod. Very kudos to the devs, man. So Kaiser's Legion is back with New Vegas encroaching on Twisted Hairs and the NCR encroaching on the Lost Hills chapter. I imagine they're going to take quite a lot of land from them after Los Angeles lost some land to the Lost Hills chapter. So borders are definitely still very fluid at this point, but we've got multiple points where New Vegas and the NCR are touching tips. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, Crater over here has gotten back a bit more of their lands that they had lost, so good on them. Things are definitely looking pretty interesting over here with the Fusion, this Kakomoro, the Lawless, Ronto. So there's lots of cool stuff going on over here, and I imagine that the Institute is still continuing to develop their lands. Oof, and like 20 years later, Crater has fallen to Jackals and Vultures, Red Stingers, Steel Stalkers. All these names are super cool. I love to see that. Austin continues, as does New Vegas, eating up basically everything, and Kaiser's Legion popping out as a 1 province miner yet again. They keep on getting annexed and then re-released, so I assume that it's like event driven. Either way, they're here, but not really sure how well they're going to be doing. NCR does continue their domination over here, with New Reno getting a nice big hug. But the more nations at the NCR border, that means the more enemies they could possibly be having, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that. Obviously, we're far enough in to unlock at least a couple of idea groups, so we've got obviously a very clear overhaul to the idea groups with a lot of them. There's a lot of different idea groups, and clearly that means there's going to be quite a few policies you can expect as well. I'm not going to go through all of them, but yeah, you can clearly tell that they are entirely overhauled, 100% different from vanilla, so kudos to that as well. Lots of player choice, which I think is always a good choice. People love choice. Actually, that's not true. People don't like choice. People like being told what to do. I like it when people introduce the choice. Oh, and to anybody who was praying for their downfall, the Austinians, keeping it weird, have indeed fallen. Not falling continues to be New Vegas, who is explosively growing. Granted, a lot of these provinces are really big, but they've gained like an extra 15 provinces-ish. They are doing incredibly good. I would not be surprised at all if they are passing up the NCR, but there's quite a bit of development over here. Obviously, a lot of it is concentrated up here around New Vegas and over in California. These guys have a lot of dev over here. And so New Vegas is taking a lot of land that is not high dev, like 6-7 dev provinces. And the California Republic is not able to get a whole lot of dev outside of California. So we'll see how things go with that. I do think that New Vegas is scaling faster, but you know, only time is going to tell. The think tank continues their isolation. And we are definitely seeing some blobbing. Zark, the Kansas Deathclaws, the Fusion looking super good. I'm really a big fan of that. And we've actually got Germantown consolidating a ton of land over here in the Capital Wasteland. So definitely going to have to keep an eye on them, as is the Institute continuing their stuff. It doesn't look like they've gained a whole lot more land, but they're definitely doing stay at a status quo, which is good because that means lots of development going on. I mean, just look at that. They take like 2 or 3 provinces and they're going to be gaining quite a bit of extra. So I think they're doing just fine. And I was actually incorrect when I said that New Vegas was still behind the NCR. They're actually ahead by a little under 200 development, doing really good. The Institute has climbed. I think they were the 8th spot last time. Now they're up to the 3rd, but it's only because of Institution, though that edge on Institution will give them quite a bit of edge from the surrounding people. You can see they're actually 2 institutions ahead of the number 1 and number 2 great power. The Enclave in the 4th spot, with the think tank playing tall in the 5th. 6 is Rustworth. 7 is the Fusion, and another Dark Brotherhood chapter, the Texan chapter, in the 8th spot. So quite a bit of diversity and representation in the great powers list, and I am a big fan. Institutions are a total mess. I really like this. I imagine that one of them spawned over here or something. I really don't know what's going on, but these guys have it. A lot of people around them do not. And yeah, it's very much a mess, and it's a toss-up as to who gets them by the looks of it. Though the think tank definitely is doing well, and that is good for them. We are in the age of the Chinese incursion. The remnants of the communist Chinese have regrouped. They have infiltrated deep into the wasteland. Absolutism is enabled. I actually don't know if I see any Chinese tags, but yeah, so we are in a new age, at least. New Vegas continues to dominate. The Texan chapter, who was fighting off with the Austins at the beginning, is actually dominating over here in the Texas/Louisiana region. The East Coast is still kind of a toss-up with Black Rot and the Red Stingers, Lost Caste, taking up a lot of what was left of the crater with the Jackals. So still kind of anybody's game over here. Germantown is still doing well, pushing over into Maryland, and the Institute has conquered a province or two, or maybe even three, from some of these small little nations around them. So I do think that we're going to see them remain relevant for the remainder of this run. And yeah, it's all New Vegas. New Vegas definitely wins, though they are at war with the NCR at the moment. I don't think it's going to matter a whole lot, considering how truly massive they are. NCR was very stagnant. They haven't grown hardly at all in the last 100 years or so, with the Chinatown chapter of the Brotherhood of Steel looking quite solid over here in Northern California. With their brothers, the Texan chapter down here, I don't think they've really grown a whole lot, but they haven't shrunk a whole lot from what I can tell, with the Robots of the Fusion doing very good over here in like the Midwest South area, doing super good, with this Fremontia doing okay, I suppose. Blackrot and the Lost Caste doing fine. Freedom, Great Lanta, and it does look like Canterbury Commons was either conquered or formed by Germantown. I'm not exactly sure how that works. The Institute continued their dominance of the region of the whatever the Commonwealth, I guess this would be called in Fallout 4. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I would imagine that this actually is what happened when that age of the Chinese incursion started, and I just missed it. But yeah, China is right here. This is China, of course, don't you know? Not that it matters a whole lot, because China is not a great power, unlike the NCR, who is doing good, but they do not actually quite eke out the development of New Vegas. Almost 2,000 for New Vegas and a little over 1,200 for the NCR. If once they embrace a couple of institutions, New Vegas will definitely take their throne back. The Institute, with half of their development, but another institution, go figure, and then Freedom, followed by New Reno, the Enclave, New York with the Dutch flag. I think that's kind of a good meme. And then Ronto with the Maple Leaf over here in the 8th spot. We do finish with Religious Hegemon going to New Vegas. So they've got that going for them, which is pretty dang cool. The world is very secular, at least over in the New Vegas NCR region, with survivalists and robotics taking up quite a bit over here. Creatorism over here. Animist, fungal, survivalists, Atom still present, but not nearly as much as it used to be, with secular taking up the Capital Wasteland and the Commonwealth. So none of that is super you know, surprising. It's kind of what you expect. But this mod is so incredibly cool, and I really enjoyed this one. If you guys enjoyed it as well, make sure that you leave a like on the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a suggestion for a mod that you'd like to see me focus on for the next video. And a big shout out to everybody who has been so kind to support the channel over the last couple of years. I appreciate you all. I couldn't do this without you. If you want early access to the videos, make sure you check out the links in the description, become one of the homies, or support me on Patreon. And we'll see you guys in the next one. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day.